All right, first thing you're going to do is take the cover off of your machine and place it in your top blue drawer. If you do not have a drawer, you can place it on the back of your chair, like so. We want to make sure they are not out on the table when we are using the machine so they don't get caught underneath the needle. All right, you're then going to, next thing you will do is gently lower the foot control on the floor. Make sure you are in a position that you are ready to sew, which means you're sitting up nice and straight, both feet are on the floor, and your machine is in a comfortable position. Feel free, if you are at one of the desks, to move the position to that comfortable position. All right, next you need to do is check your surroundings. It's just like you're driving a car. So your upper tension control dial needs to be at a 4, your stitch width dial needs to be at a 4, and your stitch length dial needs to be at a 2.5, which is actually the little circle in between the 2 and the 3. Your pattern selection window should say a 2/20, and that refers to the stitch that we are going to be using today. Your bobbin winder should be in the left, which means it's in the drive position. If it's to the right, it is in the neutral position. Your needle will not go up and down if it's to the right. So, problem with your machine, it's not stitching. Double check your bobbin winder. It could be to the right, so I'm going to make sure it's to the left. All my settings are correct, so I'm now going to turn on my machine. How do I know if my machine is turned on? The light should be on underneath your machine. All right, so now we've checked our settings, 4, 4, 2.5, 2/20, the bobbin winder's to the left. Presser foot down, needle down. I've lined it up. My needle is piercing at the top of the line. All right, when you are beginning to paper stitch, same thing as when you sew, you want to make sure you have a light touch. If you're holding onto your fabric or your paper very tightly, it will cause those stitches to become knotted on the back side of your fabric. On your paper, it will cause holes or rips in your paper. So a nice light touch. So I'm going to begin sewing. I'm going to teach you how to backstitch at the beginning and the end as well. So I'm going to start, and I'm actually going to count to 3 when I start sewing. It does not necessarily have to be 3 stitches. It's just 3 seconds in your head. So I'm going to begin. 1, 2, 3, stop. To stop, you just take your foot off of the foot control. Now I'm going to hold the reverse lever down. This is not like a light switch that you can turn on and off. You actually have to hold it down and then use your foot control to proceed to backstitch. So I'm going to hold it down and count to 3. 1, 2, 3. Your goal is to backstitch over the stitches that you've already made. If you're going diagonal, then you're not going to be locking those stitches, so that kind of defeats the purpose of a backstitch. All right, so now I'm ready to begin sewing all the way down to the bottom. I'm ready to continue my stitch. I just backstitched for 3 seconds. I have a nice light touch on my paper, and I'm continually moving my hands. They're like the steering wheel. All right, so I have about 1 inch left to the end of this line. I'm actually going to walk it, which means I'm going to just use the hand wheel. One thing I taught you about the hand wheel is you always go towards you, never away from you. So I'm going to walk it until I get to the end of the black line. All right, so I'm at the end of that black line. I'm now going to reverse stitch, back stitch. I'm going to count to 3. 1, 2, 3. Again, remember, make sure only to pierce that line. Do not pierce diagonally or else you are not actually backstitching. Okay, so now I'm going to continue to walk it. If I actually use the foot control at this small point, I could go past the line or past the end of my stitches, and that could be a problem. All right, so I'm at the end. I've raised my needle. My needle is up high. I'm going to lift my presser foot gently using resistance, and then I'm going to hold my line up to the light, and you can see the line that I've just made. How can I tell if you've backstitched? You will have more little holes or circles, piercings on your paper where you've backstitched.